Hi all, this is Pranav from Team 9, and now we are going to see a platform to train deep neural network architectures without writing a single line of code. Now, training a deep neural architecture is a three-piece puzzle. First piece being the data, second being the model, and third being the results, interpretation, and changing the model. Now, let's begin our journey to forge the first piece of this puzzle, that is data. Now, increasing the difficulty of data will result in our model becoming more powerful and thus identifying easily the data according to their classes. So, the first stop in our journey is the benchmark dataset. So, we have used the German Traffic Sign Recognition benchmark or the GTSRB dataset having the semantic distribution as you can see in the bottom right corner. So next step, in order to make the dataset more difficult, there are many paths. So one of them is adding extra classes. So here we have added 5 new extra classes which are very similar to some of the classes already present in GTSRP. These are listed as you can see in the slides. So similarity comes on two fronts. First one being the visual similarity and second is the semantic similarity. So visually, these 5 classes, as they can be seen here, the left ones being from the new 5 classes, added ones, and the right ones, that is the bigger ones, being from the GTSRB dataset. As we can see, they are visually very similar, and our model can easily confuse between them. On the semantic front, we can see in the left image, the new classes can be easily segregated in the semantic space from the GTSRB dataset. But our benchmark model cannot segregate the 5 new classes by themselves and cluster them, as we can see, as suggested by the blob in the right image, that is the 5 new classes. Now moving on to the benchmark results, we use these results to compare our current benchmark model with other models and datasets. Now after adding 5 new classes and making the dataset, we run our benchmark model on this new dataset. So we get few insights like noticeable F1 drops and zeros as F1, which can be seen clearly in this slide. So here we see few classes have F1 drops and the added 5 new classes have their scores as 0. So which is expected because our model currently does not have that class. So our UI will suggest the user to add 5 new classes to the model. Add 5, sorry. Okay. So the drop in average F1 score we got was 0.19 by doing this procedure, and the drop in average accuracy was 0.14. Now this suggests that this data has become very difficult and thus the model will become more powerful if we train this. Now we have completed our first key to the puzzle of 3 pieces, that is the data. Now moving on to the UI part, how the user will see and interact with this web application. So this is our first page. This is where the user will upload our data, and fret not, at the end of this presentation, I will walk you through a video with the front end and do all his job. Now this is where the user sees his uploaded images. This is where he applies all the transforms to his uploaded images. This is where he sees all the images in the dataset, see sample images, see statistics for each of these classes, and the uploaded images as well. Now completing the data part, we will move on to the second piece of the puzzle, that is network or the model. Now as easily, the user can visualize layers, inside the layers, hyperparameters on our UI. He can change the hyperparameters, modify them in case he wants to retrain the model or further train the model. He can as easily train the model. Now, we have trained the model and added the data. But one more thing. We have also applied SMOTE, that is train test split on steroids. So what this simply does is oversamples the minority class to give better results for minority classes, as suggested by this table on the right. So here we can see after applying SMOTE, we have good rise on precision recall and F1 scores of minority classes. Now moving on to the networks themselves, that is the performance. So we have included 4 models in our UI. First one being the baseline one, which we have custom. Second one being the mobile net, so which focuses on speed of evaluation. The third one being which strikes a balance between speed and accuracy. Fourth one being the ResNet, which solely focuses on the accuracy. Now, why multiple models? So there's a debate between speed and accuracy, and which solely depends on use case of the user. So this also ensures scalability. That is, user can use model according to his or her own use case. Like for example, if he wants to use it on mobile or edge devices, he can use maybe mobile net or baseline. But if he has some kind of data center to use, he can use ResNets to give him more accuracy. The second question arises, why do we visualize networks? So as these networks are very deep, hundreds of layers stacked after each other, it becomes virtually impossible to understand what the network does and how it does. So in order to understand and change intelligently the network, we need to visualize them, visualize each layer, its features, and how the data passes through it. Now we have our networks, their architecture, and you can see the gradients under the layers of the network. Here you can see few kernels are blank, that is they have virtually no output and thus are redundant. So these can be changed. We also have same thing for mobile net network, Google net network, and ResNet networks. Now we have completed two parts of this puzzle. First one being the data, and second being the training part of the model. Now moving on to the third and maybe the most important piece, that is inference and change. So our post experiment user interface on web app helps. We can see layer-wise evaluation of network. That is, see how the data virtually goes when it passes through the layers. As we can see in layer 0, the data is quite dispersed. In layer 3, layer 6, and layer 9, it clusters to form classes. So, and we understand from this that model has trained well on this data. Now moving on, we also have best 5 and worst 5 classes according to F1 scores with their top 3 probabilities to let user know where the class is confused and where the model is going very good. Talking about confusion, we also have confusion matrix, which is clickable to enable user to easily see which images are getting confused between two classes. So this is the interface which we see when the user clicks one of the cell of confusion matrix. We have a true class and we have a predicted class, and the user and image has been confused. Now this is not the end. User can send this image or images he obtains this way, select them and send to suggestions tab. Now what suggestions does, it passes on the selected images to GradCam++ and Live. So what these two things are, it helps you and see is focusing on right places the user wants to catch on. Like on the correct predictions, we can see the heat maps are generated in the center of the traffic scene, which says that the model is focusing on the center. While on the wrong predictions, it's on the background or on the borders, which we don't want the model to focus on. The same is with Lime results. So the black dot pixels are the ones ignored by the model. On the correct predictions, we can see the background and network is
I guess Pranav has lost connection.
hello.
Yeah. Now,
Oh, yes.
So I'm audible right now.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, sorry. So
Wait, Pranav, your screen
shall I
is not
repeat?
visible.
Okay, just a minute. Okay, so is it visible now?
Not yet. Okay, yeah, it is
Yeah,
visible
now.
now. Also, you may turn your video off in case like the connection is not strong.
Okay, the connection should be fine, I think.
Yeah,
Just
it's fine
try
now. You may
this.
continue.
Okay. So I think so. Shall I proceed with GradCam again or move on?
Yeah, you can do this. You can continue from this slide.
Okay. So when the image is being passed on to the GradCam, we can see on the correct predictions, the heat maps are concentrated on the center of sign where we want them to, while on the wrong predictions they are on the backgrounds and we don't want them to be there, right? The model should concentrate on the center, which can easily be visualized. The black dot pixels mean that the network is ignoring that part. So the black dot pixel should be around the traffic sign and in the background and not on the traffic signs. So which is visible in our current correct predictions that the background is blacked out and the wrong predictions, the center of the sign is blacked out, which you don't want. So last part is explanations and suggestions. So we generate explanations and suggestions for the user as to what his next experiment should be. So that is based on the training plots, the metrics, the confusion matrix, and other metrics. So after this, so we have completed all the three pieces of the puzzle right now. Now let's see how the user interacts with the front end as seen via this video.
So this is our GUI, and we have divided it into three main parts. First one is the data tab, second is the networks, third is the result. Let's move on sequentially and go through to the data tab first. Here the user can upload images, select the label and upload them. The user can also
I'm sorry, but just to confirm, can you hear the audio of this video?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
select images and add his custom label and add a class. So after refresh, you see our uploaded image. Now the user can crop the image he just uploaded. Let's just save this as duplicate. You can select and delete them, select them all, or edit them from here itself. We also have some powerful filters like transformed only, which shows the images transformed by the user. We have date filter, and we also have search bar to search class wise for all the images uploaded. Now moving on to the edit and transform tab. Here let's say we select images and edit them. We have array of transforms to apply to this image. Let's apply a few.
I think we lost.
Okay, I'm back with it. So, is it visible right now?
Not yet.
Is it now?
Not yet again.
If possible, other team member can present.
present it and share it as tab via the AirMeet. Only the presentation tab, and check the add audio button while presenting. Mitali, go to AirMeet tab, unshare, share again, and the third tab, share only the Chrome tab. On the bottom left, there is a checkbox, share audio, click that. Okay, so maybe you can just run the video and I'll use the voiceover here itself. So here we can see that the signs have been searched. We can select the images here, edit them, and we have array of transforms to apply to. We can apply a few transforms as the user wishes. We can save them as duplicate or just replace them. Now we can visualize here all the images of the dataset as well as the ones user just uploaded, where we can see 10 randomly sampled images of each class. Here we can visualize the dataset. On the left we have architecture and right we have gradients for each layer wise, and we all have the hyperparameters on which the model has been trained. Here we can see all the gradients layer wise. We can see the type of layer and the kernel dimension if any. So if the user wishes to change the hyperparameters, he can do it here. Now the user can go on to train tab, select train test split ratio, save it. Now user can select the SMOT factor for each class, add a number, or just click on auto generate to generate SMOT factors for all the classes. We have also an information tab as to what SMOT is if the user is not aware. And here clicking training of model starts. We have live plots of loss and accuracy, epoch count, and estimation time of completion in minutes. So as ETC turns to 0, we understand that the training has done and model has gone to the evaluation. So here the user can go to the models, select them, and select which result he wishes to see. So this was the latest result which I trained in the video. Here I can see the layer wise how the embeddings of the images they are getting clustered. So we can see the model is performing good. Here are the best 5 and the worst 5 classes along with the top 3 scores.
Okay, you have 30 more seconds.
Okay. So this was the confusion matrix. Clicking on this, the user can see Here the true class and the predicted class. You can select the images here. Go to suggestions. So you can see GradCam and live images of the selected image. So here the user can see where the model is going wrong. We also have suggestions and explanations, which helps user to understand what is next set should be, next experiment should be, and what went wrong currently. And this is the classification report of
Okay, time up.
current evaluation. Okay. So last, just summing it all up, our whole approach is user-centric. It is scalable on data, UI, and model front. Our model learns continuously from data. Our whole approach focuses on interpretability. Thank you.
You are clustering, for example, how well it has come out. What's your interpretation of those results?
Okay. So we cluster our images, that is embeddings of the images we get from model in the semantic space. And so we use that data to see how well the model is able to make decision boundaries. That is identify different classes as different. So as we can see, this is on baseline network, which we have custom built for this data set. And as we can see, there are small clusters. Mithali, can you just present get a bigger picture? Okay, so in the layer 11 you can see there are small clusters. So these are respective classes which the model has identified and sorted them out.
Okay. So you have just plotted those feature vectors on the graph 2D, and that's what you did, or is it more than that?
So we just took the embeddings from the layers, grabbed them, and used TSNA to plot these to get a 2D representation from ND vectors.
Okay. And you could actually get some insights of a plot like this, or was it just a good feel-good, let's say, feel-good kind of a graph, and that's it?
So no, it's like it is good on both fronts. It feels good to see that model is able to build clear decision boundaries, and secondly, we could also visually see on which classes the model is getting confused in the semantic space itself. So confusion matrix is one, but that is totally dependent on the result. So here we can see layer wise which layer helps in distinguishing which two classes. Take this layer wise, that is layer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can see in which layer which classes get segregated.
Yeah, understood. Okay. And your split of the data, for example, you took it from whatever it was already there, or was it something done, let's say, specially, or it was just a random cut?
So first of all, we sample data, we cut it randomly, and to uniformize the number of samples, we use SMOT.
And how good your SMOT worked on this image data? You had a look at the sample? Okay, I couldn't hear anything.
I guess Pranav lost the connection.
Yeah, so using SMOT, we increased the F1 score. Before applying SMOT, it was around 0.86, and after applying SMOT, it increased to 0.96. Yeah.
Oh, what did you? Okay. Oh, and where does this jump come from? You know it, or you
Yeah,
just know the numbers?
we have upsampled the number of images. It was clearly visible that the number of images which were used in the training for that particular class which has low F1 score. So we just oversample it to a fixed extent so that the model should able to learn it pretty clearly.
Yeah, this is understood. Um, but my question was like, so usually we have a complaint of SMOT that it kind of does weird stuff to the training data. But this results is extremely interesting. So your test set was the original samples only,
Yes,
or
test set was
did
the
that
original.
contain also? Okay.
No, it didn't include anything from the
And
SMOT. It was
okay. And what kind of a SMOT did you use? You had some boundaries on the values, or what was it like?
Like we use an SMOT factor for pertaining to each class to sample the number of images to a particular factor ratio of the maximum number of samples present in the majority class.
Yeah, but that's kind of an upsampling mechanism, right? But the algorithm itself, what did you do? The SMOT?
The
You
algorithm,
use something out of the box from somewhere?
I'm sorry.
You used some implementation out of the box from somewhere?
Yes, we applied the SMOT algorithm on only on the minority classes.
From which? Yeah, but from which implementation did you use it?
Like from the IMB Learn Python package.
Okay.
yeah, that actually uses the k-means type of algorithm to upsample.
Okay. Okay. So
And
you used the first GTSRV and you got 0.8, let's say the precision, and you just applied SMOT. You did not change anything else, and you reached 0.96. Means you
Yes,
upsampled also with SMOT.
yes. Like this is the average precision or only on the minority classes, not all the classes on which the result was like
Okay.
significantly lower than the other classes.
Okay. Thanks.
can you show the post experiment evaluation? So when you say you compare and no, in the video you had some, or for example this. So these uh, suggestions and explanations are something you have manually created, or is it something your solution is giving?
So we take various metrics which we get like plots and accuracy, F1, recall. We take confusion matrix into consideration, and then we generate what a user would have seen manually. So we coded that. So taking all this into account, our code generates suggestions for the users if the model is overfitting or underfitting, or it has some high bias for some class or something like that.
Okay. But when you say you take into account various metrics, this is something you do like manually, or your UI, you have created some functions which take care of it?
Okay, so Mitali, if you could go into the video, last few seconds. There's a suggestion and explanation tab there itself. So here our UI gives what suggestion it has and explanations for those suggestions, and this is generated automatically using all those metrics in the backend.
Okay. So, sorry, what did you say? Automatically generated?
So this text is automatically mentioned
I
earlier.
lost you. I keep losing you for.
Okay, so am I audible right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I was saying is this text is auto-generated by the UI, taking into account all those factors which are mentioned earlier in the backend itself. User sees
Okay.
only these text.
Okay. Okay. And can you go to that slide where you had shown something like this grad camp? This one, sorry. Yeah, grad camp plus result. So when you say you understand this, like this helps you understand, what do you do about it? You have done some new experiment using these, uh, these things by changing something. Have you done anything?
So once we know what all images are problematic, that is, let's say on the wrong predictions, we have some danger sign in the rightmost part. There the model tries to focus on the corners. So here what we can generally do is remove that image so that model does not get confused, or add augmentations on that image. So here we were not really allowed to remove any images from GTSRB, so we couldn't really do that much.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, yeah, that's it from my end.
I have nothing else.
What is your team number?
9.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.